In the evening of the 22nd of September, the skies above northern Europe became the stage for one of the most unsettling and mysterious aerial incidents in recent memory. What began as isolated sightings of glowing green drones quickly escalated into the closure of two of the busiest airports in Scandinavia and stirred fears of deliberate attempts to disrupt critical infrastructure across the continent. The events that unfolded in Denmark, Norway, and surrounding regions left tens of thousands of travelers stranded, governments on high alert, and ordinary citizens wondering if Europe had entered a new chapter of aerial vulnerability. The first significant disruption was reported over Copenhagen, Denmark's capital city. On Monday evening, witnesses began reporting strange green lights in the sky near Copenhagen Airport. These lights were described as large, glowing drones, far brighter and more visible than any recreational drone. Some observers claimed the objects hovered in the sky for over half an hour, while others stated they remained in the air for over an hour, showing no sign of conventional flight behavior. Their unusual endurance and persistent hovering left many convinced that these were not ordinary civilian drones. An unexpected voice from inside the aviation world has added a new layer of unease to the recent aerial incidents over European airports. An individual who identified himself as an airport employee stepped forward, saying he witnessed and participated in procedures that he now believes were intended to obscure the true nature of the objects seen above the runways. According to his account, what the public was shown on the news was not the full picture. Instead, routine airport drones were flown deliberately to distract attention from far stranger aerial activity. The insider explained that airports regularly operate their own unmanned aircraft for inspections, security sweeps, and training. These devices are outfitted with standard Federal Aviation Administration-style navigation lights and telemetry systems so that controllers, pilots, and air traffic control can identify them as compliant, benign aircraft. He claimed that on nights when unidentified objects appeared nearby, his workplace launched these familiar drones into the visible airspace to provide a plausible and easily explained explanation for witnesses and for radar operators. The effect, he said, was to give the impression of a conventional, manageable situation, a narrative that could be conveyed quickly to anxious passengers and the media. What troubled the insider most was his insistence that the objects observed by many witnesses did not match the profile of any conventional drone. He described the public sightings as lacking the usual blinking navigation lights and the telltale sound of propellers. He said some observers reported steady, intense glows and unmoving hover times that far exceeded the battery limits of typical commercial or even military small drones. In his view, the airport-launched drones served as a visual smokescreen, recognizable, regulated, and easy to explain, while the real phenomena continued unaddressed in the background. The airport employee went further, alleging that this practice was not a single ad hoc decision, but rather an established protocol designed to keep flights moving and to prevent public panic. He claimed that authorities coordinated the launches quickly because an unexplained object near an active runway can trigger massive operational disruptions, but that the launches were often framed as the central response rather than a containment tactic. By presenting a conventional drone as the likely cause, he said, officials could downplay lingering questions about endurance, lighting, and flight behavior that, in his view, demanded a different kind of investigation. If the insider's account is accurate, it reframes how observers should read airport responses to aerial anomalies. Rather than assuming that visible drones are the objects that prompted closures, people might consider that visible drones could be a deliberate, visible intervention designed to reframe the story. The insider's testimony suggests an active effort to manage narratives as much as airspace, to substitute the known for the unknown in the public eye. Air traffic authorities took no chances. Sightings of 2 to 3 of these large, glowing drones in the airspace near Copenhagen Airport prompted officials to ground all takeoffs and landings. For nearly 4 hours, one of Europe's most vital air hubs was shut down. The closure left tens of thousands of passengers stranded, flights diverted or delayed, and cascading disruptions rippling throughout Europe's air network. Almost simultaneously, a similar incident unfolded in Norway. Oslo Airport was forced to close its airspace for 3 hours after an unidentified drone was spotted overhead. The similarities between the two incidents, the timing, the glowing green appearance of the drones, and the immediate danger posed to air safety, raised alarm bells across the region. For the first time in recent history, both Denmark and Norway had their busiest airports brought to a standstill on the same evening by mysterious objects in the sky. The implications of these events were not lost on officials. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen described the situation as the most serious attack yet on Denmark's critical infrastructure. She emphasized that the drone activity appeared designed to disrupt and create unrest, even if the specific origin remained unclear. Denmark, she explained, was not ruling out any possibilities in terms of responsibility. The Prime Minister's remarks highlighted the broader context in which these incidents occurred. In the months leading up to the September disruption, Europe had been dealing with a pattern of unusual aerial activity and cyber disruptions. Suspected Russian drones had been reported violating Polish and Romanian airspace. Estonia had confirmed that Russian fighter jets entered its airspace only days before the Copenhagen incident. At the same time, European airports had suffered a string of hacker attacks, further raising the sense that infrastructure was being targeted in coordinated ways. Against this backdrop, the sudden grounding of flights in Denmark and Norway appeared far from random. For ordinary citizens, the green glowing drones became symbols of unease. Many who saw them described them as hovering with unnatural steadiness, far removed from the jittery, short battery limitations of store-bought drones. Some even referred to them as unidentified aerial phenomena, pointing to their ability to linger in the sky for extended periods without the typical noise or flight patterns expected of drones. Residents living near Copenhagen Airport were particularly unnerved, with reports flooding in of luminous objects visible from backyards and streets, reminding many that these mysterious incursions were not confined to military airspace, but visible to everyday people. The closures of Copenhagen and Oslo airports also underscored the vulnerabilities of modern aviation. Airports represent some of the most tightly regulated and secure environments in the world, yet a handful of drones, unmanned and unidentified, were able to paralyze operations for hours. The economic and logistical consequences were immediate. Tens of thousands of passengers found themselves stranded in terminals or diverted to alternate airports. Airlines struggled to rebook passengers, and cargo shipments were delayed, highlighting how a few hours of disruption could ripple through global supply chains. For security experts, the incidents raised deeper questions. Were these drones the work of state actors probing weaknesses in European infrastructure, or were they a new breed of highly advanced, long-endurance drones operated by unknown groups? The glowing green lights in particular stood out, suggesting either specialized lighting equipment or technology beyond conventional commercial drones. Their endurance in the sky suggested that they were not the simple quadcopters available on the market, but something with greater power and design. European leaders were careful with their words. While Prime Minister Frederiksen refused to name specific suspects, she made it clear that the activity matched recent patterns observed across the continent. Norway's authorities also noted the seriousness of the threat, with Oslo's 3-hour shutdown demonstrating how quickly a single drone sighting could paralyze an entire airport. Neither country dismissed the events as hoaxes or misunderstandings, underscoring that the sightings were taken as credible and dangerous. At the human level, the events caused frustration, fear, and a sense of helplessness. Travelers trapped in Copenhagen Airport during the 4-hour shutdown described watching the glowing objects through terminal windows, wondering what they were seeing and why no one seemed able to stop them. Families were separated, business trips derailed, and vacations upended. Yet, beneath the frustration lay something deeper: the realization that Europe's skies, once considered safe and orderly, could now be disrupted by unknown technology. For many, the incidents blurred the line between drones and UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. The glowing green color, the long hovering times, and the coordinated appearances over multiple capitals suggested something far stranger than ordinary drones. While officials used the word drone, ordinary people watching the skies could not help but feel that something more mysterious was unfolding. In the days that followed, European governments ramped up discussions about how to defend critical infrastructure against drone incursions. Anti-drone technologies, including radar systems, jammers, and even trained birds of prey, were mentioned as possible tools. Yet, the sheer scale of the incidents raised doubts about whether such measures would be enough. If drones could appear in the skies above multiple capitals simultaneously, glowing brightly enough to be seen across cities and hovering for hours, then the threat seemed far beyond the capabilities of amateur operators. The broader context of escalating geopolitical tensions only amplified these fears. With Europe already on edge due to conflicts, cyber attacks, and energy crises, the sudden swarms of glowing drones felt like yet another front in an expanding campaign of disruption. Prime Minister Fredriksson's warning that the events fit into a pattern of drone attacks, airspace violations, and cyber disruptions reflected the unease coursing through European governments. For the public, however, the fascination with the glowing green drones has persisted. Photographs and videos captured the eerie lights hanging over Copenhagen and Oslo, spreading quickly online. The images showed luminous orbs against the night sky, sometimes accompanied by smaller lights, adding to the sense of mystery. Residents described them as too large, too steady, and too enduring to be ordinary drones. The events of the 17th and 18th of September 2025 may one day be remembered as a turning point. For the first time, two of Scandinavia's busiest airports were shut down by unknown aerial vehicles. Tens of thousands of travelers experienced firsthand the fragility of modern aviation in the face of new aerial threats. Governments acknowledged the seriousness of the incursions, while leaving open the possibility that powerful state actors or unknown entities were involved. The glowing green drones over Europe remain unexplained. Whether advanced drones, experimental technology, or something stranger, their presence has already changed the way people think about the safety of the skies. The closures of Copenhagen and Oslo airports marked not just a temporary disruption, but a chilling reminder that in a world of rapidly advancing technology and growing tensions, even the most secure airspaces can no longer be taken for granted. As of now, Samantha's case continues to resonate across Europe as a symbol of mystery, vulnerability, and the unknown. Families, travelers, and officials alike are left with the same unsettling truth. Something powerful and unexplained was in the skies that night, and the answers remain just beyond reach. The mysterious drone sightings above the United States still remain a mystery. The UFO drones seen hovering over the United States continue to be a mystery, despite government efforts to explain them away. Many eyewitnesses and military officials have reported that these objects do not resemble conventional aircraft, nor do they behave in ways that match any known drone or aircraft technology. What makes these sightings particularly baffling is that these drones appear to have no visible means of propulsion, yet they move in ways that defy the laws of aerodynamics. As the phenomenon continues to unfold, many are left wondering what exactly these objects are and who or what is controlling them. For years, the existence of highly advanced unidentified aerial objects has been debated among experts and enthusiasts. However, recent sightings of these strange drones over military installations, nuclear facilities, and restricted airspace have reignited the discussion, pushing the topic further into the mainstream. Videos and eyewitness accounts describe silent, hovering spheres or metallic, egg-shaped objects that appear to move without wings, rotors, or jet propulsion systems. They accelerate instantly, change direction abruptly, and seem to operate outside the limits of known physics. These characteristics have led many to believe that whatever these drones are, they are not ordinary government surveillance equipment. One of the most perplexing aspects of these UFO drones is their ability to evade radar detection. Many of these sightings have been reported by military personnel, pilots, and government officials, yet traditional radar systems often fail to track them properly. If these were simply classified military drones, they would likely still produce some kind of detectable signature, such as infrared emissions or radio signals. Instead, these objects seem to disappear from radar screens at will, leading to speculation that they possess some form of advanced stealth technology that goes beyond anything publicly known. Adding to the mystery, there have been multiple cases where these UFO drones directly interacted with military aircraft. In some instances, fighter jets have been scrambled to intercept these objects, only for the pilots to report that the drones outmaneuvered them effortlessly. Pilots have described how these objects can come to a complete stop mid-air, rotate in place, then shoot off at impossible speeds without any visible thrust. This is far beyond the capabilities of even the most advanced hypersonic aircraft or experimental propulsion systems currently being developed by military programs. Government officials have attempted to explain away these sightings, claiming that the drones were part of FAA-authorized tests or classified operations. However, these explanations have failed to satisfy those who have witnessed the objects firsthand. If these drones were truly government-sanctioned, why were military personnel and pilots not informed ahead of time? Why were fighter jets scrambled to intercept them as if they were unknown threats? The lack of clear documentation or transparency surrounding these objects has only fueled more suspicion that the truth is being hidden from the public. The lack of visible propulsion or exhaust also suggests that these objects could be utilizing an unknown or highly advanced energy source. Traditional aircraft rely on combustion engines, jet propulsion, or rotor blades to generate lift and thrust, but these UFO drones do not exhibit any of these characteristics. Some researchers have theorized that they could be operating on anti-gravity technology, a concept long considered theoretical, but one that has been explored in classified military projects. If such technology does exist, it would represent a paradigm shift in aerospace engineering, and it would explain why these objects can hover effortlessly and accelerate without inertia. Many of these sightings have occurred near sensitive military sites, particularly those associated with nuclear technology. There have been multiple reports of these UFO drones hovering over nuclear missile silos, power plants, and weapons storage facilities, prompting serious security concerns. In some cases, personnel have even reported electronic disruptions and unexplained power failures during these encounters. If these drones are simply foreign surveillance devices, they represent a major national security risk, yet there has been no confirmation that they belong to any known adversary. This raises a disturbing possibility that these objects may not be of human origin at all. Public skepticism toward official explanations has grown significantly, particularly as high-ranking officials have admitted that many of these incidents remain unexplained. Even former intelligence officers and military whistleblowers have come forward, stating that the government has been studying these objects in secret for years and has no real explanation for their origins or capabilities. If this is the case, it suggests that the phenomenon is far more complex than simple drone activity and that there could be a concerted effort to withhold critical information from the public. Despite the government's attempts to downplay these incidents, many believe that we are approaching a turning point in UFO disclosure. With more eyewitness accounts, video evidence, and whistleblower testimonies emerging, it is becoming increasingly difficult for authorities to dismiss these sightings as mundane events. The fact that so many of these UFO drones share similar characteristics, regardless of where they are seen, suggests that this is a global phenomenon, not just an isolated issue confined to US airspace. If these objects truly belong to a foreign nation, then it means that one country has developed technology far superior to anything known to the rest of the world, which in itself would be an unprecedented breakthrough in aerospace technology. However, if they do not originate from any known earthly power, then the implications are even more profound. In that case, we may be dealing with a presence that exists beyond our current understanding of science and technology. As more experts, researchers, and government insiders come forward, the mystery surrounding these UFO drones only deepens. Their capabilities, their purpose, and their origin remain unknown. But one thing is certain: they do not match any conventional aircraft or drone known to exist. The continued sightings and the government's vague responses have led many to believe that we are being kept in the dark about something far greater than we can imagine. Until full transparency is provided, the question of what these UFO drones truly are will remain one of the greatest mysteries of our time. The mystery of the Chicago O'Hare UFO sighting. On the afternoon of Tuesday, the 7th of November 2006, Chicago O'Hare International Airport became the setting for one of the most mysterious and widely discussed UFO sightings in recent American history. At approximately 16:15 local time, multiple employees of United Airlines, along with several outside witnesses, reported seeing a metallic disc-shaped object hovering silently above Gate C-17 at Terminal 1. For several minutes, the object remained visible, before suddenly shooting upward at great speed, leaving behind a distinctive circular hole in the clouds. The first person to spot the strange craft was a ramp worker responsible for pushing back United Airlines Flight 466, which was scheduled to depart Chicago for Charlotte, North Carolina. While performing his duties, the worker noticed an unusual, dark grey, disc-shaped object hovering above the plane. Concerned, he contacted the flight deck to inform the pilots about the sighting. Almost immediately, pilots, cabin crew, a mechanic, and even a member of United Airlines management rushed outside to catch a glimpse of the object. Within moments, a small crowd of employees stood beneath the cloud-covered sky, watching as the disc lingered above the busy airport. Although no official air traffic controllers reported seeing the craft, and nothing unusual appeared on radar, eyewitnesses on the ground were adamant about what they saw. Reports described the object as a classic flying saucer, metallic, disc-shaped, completely silent, and unlike any conventional aircraft. The object reportedly hovered in place for around 5 minutes. Then, without warning, it shot upward at such speed that it pierced the cloud layer, creating a clean circular hole in the overcast sky. Witnesses emphasized that it was not a trick of the light nor a passing aircraft, but something extraordinary. Chicago Tribune reporter John Hilkovich investigated the story and published one of the most detailed accounts of the event. According to his reporting, nearly a dozen United Airlines employees, ranging from pilots to supervisors, personally saw the disc and confirmed their sightings to one another. Word spread quickly through the radio channels used by ground crews, creating a wave of chatter that prompted even more employees to step outside and see it for themselves. Their consistency in describing the object and its sudden upward flight gave the case credibility beyond rumor. Yet when questions were raised to United Airlines and the Federal Aviation Administration, both organizations publicly denied any knowledge of the incident. It was only after the Chicago Tribune filed a Freedom of Information Act request that the Federal Aviation Administration reluctantly acknowledged that something had indeed been reported. The tapes of communications from that day revealed that a United Airlines supervisor had called a Federal Aviation Administration manager in the control tower to ask if they were aware of the object. While the control tower denied seeing anything unusual, the supervisor insisted that multiple employees had already witnessed the craft. The Federal Aviation Administration eventually issued an official explanation, claiming that what the United Airlines employees had seen was a weather phenomenon known as a hole punch cloud. FAA spokesperson Elizabeth Isham Corey suggested that the low cloud ceiling combined with the bright airport lights may have created an unusual optical effect, leading people to mistakenly believe they had seen a solid object. According to this explanation, the disk was simply a natural cloud formation that looked strange under the given lighting conditions. This explanation, however, did not sit well with many of the witnesses. Several employees argued that the phenomenon they saw was not a mere cloud illusion, but a structured object with defined edges. They insisted that they had watched it hover for minutes, completely stationary, before darting upward and leaving behind a clear circular hole in the cloud cover. To them, the idea that so many experienced aviation workers could mistake a simple weather effect for a metallic disc was insulting and dismissive. Skepticism also arose from the fact that pilots during this era risked serious career consequences if they openly discussed UFO sightings. Many in the aviation industry quietly acknowledged that sightings were not uncommon, yet the stigma attached to reporting them often led to silence. Witnesses to the O'Hare event therefore had reason to be cautious, fearing ridicule or even dismissal if they spoke out too publicly. The fact that several still chose to describe what they saw, despite these risks, only strengthened the conviction of those who believed the sighting was genuine. Further complicating the picture was the cloud hole itself. Multiple witnesses described seeing the object punch through the clouds as it departed, leaving behind a sharply defined opening. This was not a vague impression, but a feature noted by many independent observers. While meteorologists acknowledged that hole punch clouds can occur under specific conditions when ice crystals form and fall, witnesses argued that the sudden and dramatic appearance of the hole, coinciding precisely with the object's departure, could not be dismissed as coincidence. In the years since, the O'Hare UFO sighting has become one of the most credible and discussed incidents in modern UFO history. Unlike fleeting lights in the night sky or isolated accounts from lone observers, this case involved a significant number of trained aviation personnel, all describing similar details. The setting, one of the busiest airports in the world, made the event difficult to dismiss as a misunderstanding.